Welcome back to Renegade GCM. Today we have a deck profile for OP07 Bonney. This is in the OP09 meta. So Jewelry Bonney is a 5 life, 5,000 power leader. When opponent attacks once per turn, you can pay 1 Dawn to rest up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters. Bonney is a defensive leader, so she uses her ability to slow down the opponent's aggression. So moving on, we have 4 of the Cavendish from EV01. It is a supernova with beautiful pirates, but we care about the supernova. It's a 5-drop, 6,000 power character with a 1,000 counter. With on play /1 attacking, if your leader is a supernova type and you have no other Cavendish on the field, you get to activate 2 of your Dawn. So this helps you extend your turn when you get to the late game to still leave an open Dawn for Bonnie's ability. We are running 2 copies of Scratchman Apu from EV01, Supernova, 1 drop, 1,000 power, 2k counter. With on play, you can rest up to one of your opponent's cost 2 or less characters. 9 out of 10 times is just going to be a 2k in your hand, but if you need to get that 2-drop blocker rested, this is an option. But most of the time, it's going to be a 2k for you. We have 4 ISO from OP01. This is a Wano, former Whitebeard, so not searchable, but it is a 2K, 3,000 power 3-drop with on play. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters for the cost 4 or less. Like I said, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be a 2K counter in hand, but it does have some utility if you need to rest, like a Rebecca or anything like 4 or less to try to take it out. So we're running 4 copies of Killer from OP01. This is a 2-drop, 2,000 power character with a 1,000 counter. Has blocker and Dawn 1 on block. If you have 3 or more characters, you get to draw a card. So this is just a cheap blocker that we can cheat out with our next card, which is Eustace Captain Kidd from OP01. It's a supernova, 8-drop, 8,000 power, no counter, but has Dom 1 on opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your opponent can't attack anything other than him, essentially. And it has activate main once per turn. You may rest this character to play up to 1 character with a cost 3 or less from your hand. This allows us to go play this out, rest it, and cheat in one of our cheap blockers to kind of protect him. Up next, we're running 4 copies of Don Quixote do Flamingo from OP04. This is a 10-drop, 10,000 power, no counter character with on play. A total up to 3 of your opponent's rested characters or leaders do not become active during your opponent's next refresh stage. So this helps lock down the board in the late game. Up next, we have Don Quixote Rosinati. It's a blocker from OP05, 2-drop, 1,000 power, 1k counter. Like I said, blocker. An opponent's turn, if one of your other rested characters would be KO'd, you may instead trash this character. So this helps kind of save a rested kid if they, against like a black matchup, if they're trying to KO something, you can trash this to save it, which is kind of useful. It's just a blocker as well. Right here we have Hody Jones, 4 copies of it, OP06, 7th drop, 8,000 power character, no counter, but it does have rush. It's a good closer. On play, rest up to total of 2 of your opponent's characters and or Dawn. Then put the top of your life cards into your hand. Useful card for rush, kind of help close out the game. Kind of rest 2 of your opponent's blockers if they're trying to wall up there at the end game. Really good card. 4 copies. Up next, we're running 3 copies of the OP07 Basil Hawkins. It's a 6-drop, 7,000 power, no counter. If your leader has Supernova in its type, which Bonnie does, this character gains blocker. And then once per turn, if this character would be removed from play by one of your opponent's effects, you may instead rest one of your opponent's characters. Kind of a neat little ability. Your opponent can play around this, but it's a 6/7 blocker, so that's still good on its own. Up next, we're running 4 copies of Carrot from OP08. It's a 5-drop, 6,000 power, 1k counter. It has the ability on play /1 attacking. Up to one of your opponent's rested cost 7 or less characters do not become active during your opponent's next refresh phase. So this deck likes to just kind of lock things down. Like I said, this is a defensive leader. So we do kind of play a slower game here, more mid-range, and we try to lock things down. And Carrot's really good for that. It's a 6k, so Good card. Up next, we're running 4 copies of Jewelry Bonney from the starter deck 2. It's a 1-drop, 1000 power, 1k counter with Activate Main. You can pay it 1 Dawn and rest it to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and grab a Supernova type, and then put the rest at the bottom of your deck. So she can find herself, which is kind of cool. Up next, we're running 4 copies of Scratch Banapoo from starter deck 2 as well. 2-drop, 3000 power, 2k counter, Dawn 1, 1 attacking, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. 9 out of 10 times, it's just a 2k. It's searchable off the Bonney, which is good. Up next, we're running 4 copies of starter deck 16 Shanks. It's a 9-drop, 11,000 power character with on play. KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters. It doesn't matter how big it is or the cost or the power. As long as it's rested, Shanks can KO it. It doesn't have a counter, so it sometimes becomes a little bricky in hand. But that's why we run 2 copies of Whoever Wins This War Becomes Justice from OP05. It's a 0-drop event that has counter, and you may trash 1 card from your hand. Your leader or one of your characters get plus 3000 during this battle. It does have a trigger ability, which is sometimes useful. Rest an opponent's character with a cost 4 or less. So this is kind of nice. It can stop an attack. It can rest a blocker if need be, so you can swing back in the following turn. There is different variants of Bonney, but this is the list that I'm running. I'm having a lot of fun with it. In OP010, I will look to see if we have any like improvements for the deck, but I do think the next Supernova leader that's going to be real fun is the red green Law. I think that's going to take over as the Supernova leader, but Bonney is pretty good in OP09. I think she'll still have a place in OP10. Like I said, different variants to the list, but this is the list I'm running. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and we'll be releasing some gameplay videos of her here in the next couple days. All right, guys. Later.